The Jaffa fought hard for their emancipation from the Goa'uld Empire. The greatest realization of this dream for freedom was the creation of the free Jaffa Nation, an interstellar government born out of the Jaffa resistance after the fall of the Empire. A nation that would ensure and protect the freedoms they had fought and sacrificed so much to attain. But sadly, this nation would not be able to do this, and would become all but a failed state. But why is this? What reason or reasons did the Jaffa Nation fail to rise to become a long-term stable power in the Milky Way galaxy? Hello everyone and welcome to another Stargate lore video. Today we'll be looking at some of the reasons why the Jaffa Nation all but failed. Starting off, I think the root cause of all the problems faced by the Jaffa Nation was that after the fall of the Empire, many held on to their old traditions and were slow to accept change. Now, there's nothing wrong with having traditions and being a little conservative. But for the Jaffa, the problem was that oftentimes the traditions being pushed were some of their worst qualities. A good example was the Jaffa's warrior culture. The Jaffa spent thousands of years serving the Goa'uld as soldiers. There were other roles Jaffa served in, such as priest, but for the most part, they were all soldiers. When it came time to build a government, a faction of traditionalists wanted a system that favored military assets over a more democratic system. And in the end, this faction won out in a vote, granted by a slim majority, but they still won the popular vote. For a time, the High Council was ruled where the voting power of each representative's coalition was based on their military power. Not only did this make Garrick, the leader of the traditional faction, the leader of the Jaffa Nation, it also created a system of governments which is arguably worse than the Goa'ulds. The High Council of the System Lords worked as such. Each member of the council was given a single vote. And that's it. While military assets probably came into play when deciding who got a seat on the council, once on the council, that didn't really matter. This created a system where each official dominion in the empire had equal voice with each other dominion. Now, in practice, we can argue how this really works in the Goa'uld Empire, but in theory, this isn't a bad system of governance. The problem with the Jaffa system, not only is it not a good way to represent groups of people, it also doesn't encourage good growth in a society. Why spend extra money and resources on building schools or hospitals when you can use it to build more ships and train more soldiers?
You think more fighting will help? Our people need teachers and doctors and builders, not more soldiers.
This encourages a system with a heavy reliance on military spending, but lacking in other areas. Areas that, if we're being honest, the Jaffa were lacking due to their history as a warrior caste. This system was eventually overturned for a more democratic system, but the fact it was put in place in the first place shows what most Jaffa valued, that being military prowess over anything else. Another issue that plagued the Jaffa Nation was how diverse they were. Now, diversity can be a good thing, a great thing. Having people with different viewpoints and ideas can help a society flourish. The problem for the Jaffa is that while they were diverse, they were also divided, as many of these groups were used to fighting each other in the name of the Goa'uld. This was compounded by the rise of groups in the Jaffa who had very different points of view, the biggest being the traditionalists versus the progressives. But then you had the Haktil situation. The Haktil was an all-female Jaffa resistance group that had a representative on the council, but most regions in the nation didn't recognize women's rights. Not to mention Jaffa who were still loyal to the Goa'uld, or even a few who turned to the Ori. After the destruction of Dukara, there was a summit in an attempt to restabilize the nation's leadership, but a strike from the Jaffa who turned to Origin killed 32 and wounded 12 of the attendees, which further drove the nation apart. There was also Jaffa who didn't want anything to do with the nation, such as the Sodan, although admittedly they are a special case since they threw off the shackles of slavery thousands of years prior. Given this division, I don't think it's crazy to think that some difference between two Jaffa groups could have spiraled out of control and led to some kind of Jaffa civil war, though that is assuming they wouldn't have found some outside threat for them to unite against, which besides the Ori they almost did with their former allies. It didn't take long after the fall of the Goa'uld Empire for the Jaffa to develop a cold shoulder to the Tari and Tok'ra. The Tari had sent a group of people to offer guidance to the Jaffa in the building of their new nation. But many viewed this with mistrust and saw the proposed system of governance as the Tari attempting to control and subvert the Jaffa's new freedom. Garrick wanted to dismiss any claims that the Tok'ra and Tari had been in any way instrumental in securing the Jaffa's freedom, and actually tried to turn the council against both of them.
We have fought too long and too hard to entrust our future to the Tok'ra. Or the Tari, for that matter.
Even after Garrick died, these tensions continued, such as when the Jaffa started to use the Dakar superweapon in violation with their agreement with the Tari. Granted, it was a desperate attempt to try and stop the Ori, but it showed how the two allies had drifted apart. There were also some racial tensions between the humans and Jaffa. The Jaffa did help in the enslavement of multiple human groups during the Empire.
And don't think that we will soon forget. I rejoice at the sight of you murdering each other like the fools that you are.
And there were some Jaffa who definitely wouldn't mind returning to a state where they would stand above and take away from the humans.
These planets you have mentioned all have plentiful Naquita mines on them.
And substantial human populations.
Whose side are you on, Jaffa?
I believe that had it not been for the Ori Crusade, the next Cold War, or even Hot War in the Milky Way, would not be between the Tari and Lucian alliance, but between the Tari and the Jaffa. Which is kind of funny, since this distrust of the Tari came from a belief that they were attempting to control the Jaffa, which was a major problem the young nation had to deal with, both internally and externally. Internally, you had people like Garrick and other power-hungry members of the council who wanted to maintain a certain power structure for themselves, even if it came at the expense of the Jaffa Nation as a whole. Externally, you had threats like the remnant of the Goa'uld, such as Baal, who tried to manipulate the Jaffa from behind the scenes. But the biggest, and really the most outwardly detrimental threat to the Jaffa Nation, was the Ori. The thing is, every problem I've talked about before could have been fixed with enough time. They probably would have adopted democracy, learned to accept change, and patched things up with their former allies and humans of the Milky Way galaxy. They just need time to overcome the growing pains of forming a new nation. But the arrival of the Ori so quickly after the nation's establishment made this nearly impossible, especially when the Ori sent their warships that the Jaffa had no practical counter to. Before we leave today, I think it's important to note that for all the faults of the Free Jaffa Nation, it is still around. Despite being beat down again, and again, and again, it still managed to— I'm sorry, one more time. That's good. In the end, some form of the nation still exists, as they managed to put together a fleet to defend the Tok'ra homeworld during Baal's extraction ceremony. Not only showing there is some military might left for the Jaffa, but also they have mended their relations with the Tok'ra. They might still be too weak to help deal with the Lucian alliance, but I'd like to see the Free Jaffa Nation return one day. What about you? Do you like the Free Jaffa Nation? What do you think was the biggest problem the nation had to deal with? Were there some reasons I missed? If you had your choice to make a new government for the Jaffa, what would you pick? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below, leave a like and subscribe, and remember,
the balance of power has shifted. So consumed were we in attaining freedom that we did not plan nearly enough for its aftermath. The Jaffa have fought with each other for so long that uniting them as one may prove as difficult a task as convincing them to free themselves from the